Hello, everyone. Good morning from California. What? Coming to you live from our beloved city by the bay. Yes, we are Pro Life San Francisco, and today we are doing our first ever Dobbs Anniversary search. Woo! Applause. Yes. And our goal for today, the theme is 24 by 24 on 24. What does that mean? We are hoping for 24 people to give $24 within the next 24 hours today on June 24th, the third anniversary of the overturn of Roe v. Wade, thanks to the Supreme Court decision ruling from the case Dobbs v. Jackson. Fun fact, I was actually outside the Supreme Court the moment the decision came down. So if you happen to have been watching the news that day, you may have seen my screaming face. It was such a moment of joy. It was an amazing moment in history. I remember crying. People were dancing for joy, jumping up and down. I remember champagne bottles being popped open. And it was just a joyous moment that I can't believe I had the opportunity to be there for. So a little bit about my story. I got involved in the pro-life movement when I was in university. I discovered a pro-life club at my school, ended up restarting this dying pro-life club, and I was doing it solo. And over time, people came. You got to build it and then they come. And to this day, that pro-life club is still going at my now alma mater, University of Texas at San Antonio. Shout out to Roadrunners. And that's what launched me into the pro-life movement. I started doing lobbying, testifying at the Texas Capitol in Austin. I was a faithful sidewalk intern with the San Antonio Coalition for Life outside of the headquarters of Planned Parenthood South Texas, and I did that for about 3 years faithfully, sidewalk outreach, and I had to have turned away hundreds of people from the abortion industry, and I just said yes to any and every pro-life opportunity that came my way. I started doing international pro-life work and training other young people across Texas. I worked at a maternity home for a time. I worked at a pregnancy help center for a time. So I was doing all the pro-life things. And in 2022, I learned about some golden, almost forgotten pro-life history within our movement, which is our rich history of civil disobedience, nonviolent direct action. And I was lit on fire. I was really inspired by the tenacity and courage of the pro-life warriors who came before us. So that lit a fire underneath me. And also around that time, 2022, March, was the discovery of the Justice for the Five Babies. We here at Pro-Life San Francisco, I like to say we're sister organizations to the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising, and a couple of the activists from POW were outside a local DC abortion business on medical waste pickup day, and were able to intercept a box. Asked the driver if they could take a box. The driver asked why do you want it? They say there's dead babies in there. He was appalled. He asks, what would you do with this box? They say, we're going to give the babies a funeral and a burial. They open up the box, found 115 killed children. 110 were early first trimester babies. but 5 were bigger babies past the point of viability, 3 of which show signs of being killed through illegal abortion procedures that are not allowed in any state in the U.S. And to this day, 3 years later, those 5 babies' bodies are still held at the D.C. Medical Examiner's office, and we are still fighting for justice for those 5. So 2022, that happened that year, and that also radicalized me. So the discovery of the 5, that radicalized me. I learned about this history of civil disobedience within the pro-life movement. That lit a fire underneath me. And then Dobbs v. Jackson, Roe's overturned. I got to be outside the Supreme Court the moment that it happened. And I had all this fire, right? I'm on a roll. I'm doing all the pro-life things. And then abortion becomes illegal in my home state, Texas. Yes, I am a proud Texan, born and raised. Texas flows in my veins. I am Chicana, Latina, if you hadn't guessed it. And I was so happy to be there in Texas when the trigger law took effect after Dobbs. And good news that life was now legally protected. But for me, having this new flame of momentum to fight for the babies, I just began feeling like Texas did not need me anymore. Not to say that Texas and states like it don't still need pro-lifers. There's still a lot of work to do in states like Texas, especially with fighting abortion pill trafficking. It's still very important to go out to the sidewalks because, as we know, our friends in neighboring states, for example, New Mexico, are now seeing Texas license plates at their abortion businesses. So pro-life work is not finished in states like Texas. But I began feeling called that with my set of skills and gifts that I was needed in a place where babies were still being very much legally killed, where abortion was still the law of the land. And so, as we know, after Dobbs, some states protected life and other states became abortion safe havens, almost like California. So I began praying, discerning, where do I go next after Texas? And I was wondering, do I go to New Mexico? Do I go to New York? Do I go to DC? And then I got a call that Pro-Life San Francisco needed a new executive director. So thankfully, my husband was on board and God made a way for our family to move out west for the California dream, baby. And I was really shocked when I got to San Francisco and realized that sadly you could not wear Daisy Dukes with bikinis on top here. It's actually fairly chilly all year round, but no worries. My body has adjusted to the climate, and now when we go back to Texas to visit, we wonder how we ever survived the Texas heat. So now I am a Cali girl, a California girl, and I love San Francisco. I have since left my heart in San Francisco, and September will be 2 years of my time in my role as executive director. So I tell you this story because Dobbs v. Jackson, the overturn of Roe, was in a sense the catalyst for me to pick up my life and my family, leave everything we knew and loved, our community, our culture, and move to California for the babies, all for the babies and their moms. So I hope that sharing my story was fruitful to you, because today is our first ever Dobbs Anniversary Surge. We are hoping for people, maybe 24 of you, to commit $24 in the next 24 hours today on June 24th to continue the work we are doing in San Francisco in the abortion training capital. And I don't say those words lightly. San Francisco truly is America's abortion training capital. And I imagine my co host Robert is going to tell you more about that. So please welcome on to the stage my co host Robert Bird. Welcome, Robert Bird. Yes.
How's it going?
Robert Bird has been with Pro Life San Francisco since the very early days. You've been here for now 3 different executive directors, and you've been through it all. And we're so grateful to have the man, the myth, the legend, the brains, our producer behind the scenes of these live streams, Robert Bird. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Robert.
Thank you so much, Melanie. And feel free to keep me updated on text whenever you feel ready to pop back in, because my presentation, I won't be long-winded, but I'll keep an eye since I might not be able to hear you backstage. So let's see. So my name is Robert Bird. As Melanie just said, I've been with Pro-Life San Francisco since the early days. Not the very beginning, though. And what I would like to share with you is our journey from the past. Where did this community come from? Pro-Life San Francisco started in 2016. We are an organization that is rooted in doing things ourselves. In 2016, we were a branch of a national organization which had these young adult chapters across the country, but within about 9 or 12 months, we were like, there's multiple reasons why we want to set out on our own, or do this all, as a self-directed, self-organized, and self-funded venture. 2016, as I mentioned, Pro-Life Future of San Francisco, first gathering in the Mission District at Bar San Pancho on Guerrero Street. Very sorry to say that business does not exist anymore, but you can always find multiple places in the Mission and throughout California to gather. Most recently, we were at a place out in Potrero Hill, just enjoying each other's company, being able to, share, what we hold in common, share, what makes us unique from each other, because pro-life people are not all the same. We're not all Christian, we're not all religious, we're not all Protestant or Catholic, we're not all agnostic like me. We're a mix of people, varied backgrounds, and all coming to this cause for mostly, a lot of the same reasons, and I'll get to that in a second. These are our founding members, Teresa Bukovinak and Karen Rose. They were the spearhead of this movement here in San Francisco. And in December, that's when I came along. And the reason why I came along and joined them was because of seeing literature like this. I had just heard about abortion in my high school health class. I took it during summer school, so the curriculum was very quick, very sped up. No time, not much time for, in-depth questions and answers on, one topic over another. Because, in summer school, the subjects move fast. So when I heard that a doctor could end a person's pregnancy at, request, it left me wondering, like, what in the world? Why would a doctor do that? And that left me with a lot of questions that I took with me at home. Because I had this memory from 7th grade science class, like, it really much seemed like I had this memory that I was taught that you started as a single cell organism. Isn't that crazy? Like at one point in your life, you were similar to a plankton, but an individual, distinct organism, just immature, just very tiny, microscopic. And I thought that was very fascinating. And of course, it only takes about 8-10 weeks till you could be visually identified as a human being. That doesn't mean you weren't at the single cell stage. There's like a genetic, objective truth there. So when I heard about abortion between junior year and senior year, I was left dumbfounded. Like, isn't that a human? Isn't that what I was taught in science class? And so it researched abortion on the internet and found some really, high quality educational resources like the ones at this organization. And it confirmed what my suspicions were, that, yeah, abortion destroys a human organism, a human individual. And in my mind, there's no reason aside from, stopping someone who's aiming a weapon. Like, there's no reason, no justification for taking someone's life, only if they're about to, like, in that moment, like, about to take someone else's life, self-defense, defense of another. But you can't just attack anyone. People have a right to life. And so this was the beginning of my journey into the pro-life world and really just equal rights. Then it was a few years later, so 2009 was when I learned about abortion. 2015 was when I started seeing very gruesome things in the news about organizations targeting families, targeting pregnant women and girls in order to, essentially lock in their abortion decision and essentially say, hey, you can benefit medical science if you let us collect and dissect, the remains, this field of what's called fetal tissue research. And this really disturbed me. This is legally practiced, widespread, and there was the allegation that these companies that practice it, some of them were illegally profiting, like, because the government's only, their only kind of dog in the fight is, well, you could do this as long as no one's making illegal profit. And there were, like, very serious allegations that was an additional strike against these abortion businesses. And that just left me wondering, like, what in the world am I doing, just kind of sitting in the background, not standing up and speaking out, not doing anything. I had been studying arguments, the case for, the pro-life stance for the past 5 years, from about 2009 to 2014, 2015. And now this fire was lit under me to do something about it, because it didn't seem like, it was right to just sit out in the background and wait for everyone else to take part. So some months later, I saw on Facebook Teresa and Karen's new pro-life group, Pro-Life Future of San Francisco. Within the next year, it was Pro-Life San Francisco, fully independent grassroots organization. And I was so happy to be invited into their community. That's me in the back right. And now I'm going to share more about, like, what our organization is all about. First, just to remind you, today on the Dobbs Anniversary Surge, we are hoping for people to join our efforts to become a part of this as well, just like I did back in December 2016. Join the effort by contributing in some manner, form, or shape, because San Francisco is an abortion magnet. People from all over California and all over America, honestly, are traveling here, being beckoned by our governor's, essentially pleading on behalf of abortion businesses to, he's sending out these billboards in states like Texas, Ohio, saying, come to California for abortion. And it is just unconscionable that we can't have a governor that is advocating for real care for these pregnant families, for single mothers, for families of all sizes. That real care looks very different than what the abortion lobbyists are portraying. And in order to combat their actions, their activity, these really malicious governments that are hurting and harming people in our community and people in communities from all across America, we can do our part. There is something that each of us can do. So what is our mission? First pillar is educating the public. We find many opportunities to get out there, to be on the streets, to be on the stage, to be on a physical platform and show people what it looks like to recognize the rights of both the mother and of the child, and to really put in stark relief the existence of these premature children in utero. Like, that's objectively who they are. And displaying that on a public stage, we've been able to physically put ourselves out there. And by placing ourselves where reporters are and sending out calls, media releases, press releases, we give our community, the people who share our understanding of the world, the truth of the existence of these children, we give ourselves this platform to get our message in more people's ears. We've been interviewed and published in the New York Times. We've done 2 to date conferences at UC Berkeley, sharing with an audience of hundreds of people what we know to be true and educating from a variety of perspectives and backgrounds what we really need to know in order to help protect families and to protect children. This is another photo from one of our conferences. We love to be able to create opportunities for community in many different ways. And in addition to educating the public, creating those events, and creating that content that goes all throughout the internet, we are also focused on providing support to pregnant families, whether it's a couple, whether it's a single parent. We want to be able to provide them support. And this looks practically, I think what you would call it is sidewalk counseling, essentially peer counseling in a sense where you're, just relating to them as another, person, everyday person on the sidewalk, just offering an opportunity to have a conversation, handing out educational pamphlets that are very, very worth their weight in gold. Well, a pamphlet doesn't weigh much, but you know what I mean. And be able to share this abundance of resources that the community, both the pro-life community and the San Francisco community in general, has to offer to families who find themselves in really difficult circumstances, struggling with the thought of the ability of raising a new child. So sidewalk counseling, being able to be a pamphleteer, because there's all sorts of messages, causes, organizations on the sidewalks of San Francisco, handing out hundreds, thousands of pamphlets and brochures, every day throughout the year and every season. So this is not any different, other than our, the tactics are not any different. It's just the specific call to, see, we have something available to you. We can come alongside you and help you and your child. That is the essence of sidewalk counseling. In addition to providing support to pregnant families through sidewalk counseling and other means, which we'll be able to share in future live streams today, our third pillar is to confront the abortion movement. This is one little example of us with University of Nevada, Las Vegas members and founder of New Wave Feminists. We were outside one of the Democratic primary debates in Las Vegas, where Joe Biden drove right past us through his window. He likely saw our signs, but most likely he had his window rolled down to wave and thank his supporters on the other side of the street. It was a really crowded area out there for sure. Several demonstrators, and we wanted to make sure that the pro-life message was included. And there are so many different ways that we are able to spread our message in the media, news interviews. We have several examples of that. Unfortunately, some of the pictures in the presentation didn't pop up here. But we've been able to place our message in several places. Outside the San Francisco courthouses, outside the office of Nancy Pelosi, in front of businesses like Walgreens and CVS that have unfortunately in many states become just like Planned Parenthood, dispensing abortion. And also, we have protested Donald Trump's Department of Justice. This was back in 2020 when they were failing to utilize the evidence on their table. I believe it was the Attorney General Bill Barr. We knew from congressional investigations and reports that there was solid evidence of Planned Parenthood, for example, profiting off the collected body parts of aborted children. This barbaric practice that the government only cares if there's illegal profiteering happening in the mix. The evidence for that was on the desk of Trump's attorney general, and there were no prosecutions, no charges happening. So we don't care if it's quote unquote the pro-life party. If they're doing something wrong and it's within our scope as an organization, our mission, our voice, because we as individuals can do multiple things, but the pro-life organization exists to have a mission to help these families and help these babies. We're going to call out the supposed pro-life administration whenever they are failing to protect the lives of children. We had a huge rally outside and marched as close as we could to the White House. That was back when they had a huge gate around it. It was still early COVID. You can see all the masks. And another way of confronting abortion businesses is standing up for our rights. We've been told occasionally by the police to get out of the space in front of Planned Parenthood when doing sidewalk counseling, for example. But we've been able to pull up the law and show them, look, the law explicitly says that sidewalk counseling is allowed. It even uses the phrase sidewalk counseling in the San Francisco ordinance. It just said that there's a balancing of rights by, kind of putting a little bit of a, hedge around what activities people such as us can do within the lines in front of the business. So we've never been carted away. We're standing up for our rights and educating other people that they have the ability to protect and call out, to protect these children, to share this invitation to speak to the parents in front of this business if that's the way that they wish to contribute to this mission. We've gone out and confronted the regents of the University of California when there was the bill to place the abortion pill in all of the university health centers. We made sure that the regents never took a positive, affirming position on that legislation. And guess what? They never did. They remained neutral. And being able to, educate pro-lifers, because, not everyone knows everything. We want to make sure that we're available to share all the knowledge that we've gathered with other people in our community at places like the Walk for Life, an annual pro-life event in January in San Francisco. Here's another example, one small example of the types of online educational content we put out, being able to really shine a spotlight on the fact that pro-life health clinics and material aid centers are valuable to the community. They have been the target of several malicious campaigns by abortion activists, unfortunately. And being able to stand up for them is one of our greatest pleasures. Being able to partner with other organizations like Live Action to host rallies outside of really notorious locations like the University of California, San Francisco's General Hospital Abortion Center. We've been able to gather together for several community events. Here's just one little snapshot of one of our Christmas gatherings, Christmas socials. And making sure that we can study and package information, make it digestible for the public, and help them understand what's at stake. That is so important to us as an organization. Since 2019, we have been able to shine a huge spotlight on UCSF's abortion training program, which is a national abortion program headquartered here in San Francisco with over 110 locations across the country in a majority of states. And we published our first video on in this campaign, in this program of ours. The first video that we released back during a live stream in 2020 when we debuted it. That's gone out to over 3,000 viewers on YouTube alone. So we are really grateful for the opportunity to continue to shine a spotlight on these bad actors in the medical field, in government, wherever they may be, and call them to a higher standard, that they need to join us in protecting lives and providing true care to families, to their patients when it comes to UC San Francisco Medical School, their various hospitals in this in the city.
So, Robert, in the first live stream this morning, I talked all about how I was outside the Supreme Court the moment that the ruling came down. But let's hear from you. Where were you when the decision came down? And did you ever think Roe would be overturned?
It's crazy because just the year prior, it was either a year or two before, our founder and director at the time, Teresa, she was leading activists that Pro-Life SF organized to come together around the June medical case. I don't know if many people still remember the June medical case. And it was an unfortunate, loss for families, for children. It was about certain medical standards at abortion businesses. And interestingly enough, though, the only people out on the plaza, the sidewalk that day in front of the U.S. Supreme Court were pro-lifers, were the people organized by Pro-Life San Francisco. And so therefore, any of the news media reporters who were curious to, get people's responses, reactions, it was us who were able to be heard and amplified, much, to a much greater degree across, higher than our platforms, for example. The New York Times has a bigger readership than the Pro-Life San Francisco subscription count, just saying. And so I didn't imagine it would be just like 1 year or 2 years for something so momentously, huge in the opposite direction to take place. I definitely did not expect it. And I first heard about the Dobbs, decision, of course, a couple months prior, when it was leaked by presumably a staffer at the Supreme Court. And the funny thing was, guess where I was? I wasn't in San Francisco. I was in Washington, D.C. I was touching down in an airplane
Really?
at the DCA
When the
airport
leak came out.
when the leak came
That's
out.
funny.
Our phones blew up once we, shut off airplane mode. And I was like, what's going on? We were here. We were there in that moment. Like, I'm transporting myself back to that moment right now. We were traveling there to advocate for these 5 children, these 5 murdered children, 3 of whom were at least victims of infanticide federal crimes. The Justice for the Five case.
Babies, yeah.
Yeah, it had only been 1 month since they were discovered. This was in May, at the end of May. And we were there for a totally different reason, to advocate for these children, to ensure that the government gave them an autopsy, can help, get to the end point, which is the first point in the, first one, to give them a respectful burial, and get an investigation going regarding these 5 children specifically. And when our phones blew up, we saw the Dobbs leak, and it's like, shoot, we've got to pivot a little bit. We've got to include a little bit of this in our itinerary. So our hosts at Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising were able to incorporate advocacy for, showing the public and the powers that be that there are people in favor of this, draft Dobbs decision. And the official day when the announcement came down on June 24th, 2022, I was, of course, in my hometown, San Francisco, right where I was born and raised, to celebrate the occasion. And I had a great dinner with our current board president, John Leiby. I had a really fantastic time just kind of imagining what the future could be like now at this point. And just, really hoping and wishing that everyone could come together, Republican, Democrat, lawmaker, lobbyist, civilian, around providing real support to women and families. Because at this point, it's not going to hurt, let me switch that around. It's not going to harm anyone to shut off abortion advocacy. Like, look at all this money, time, and energy being pushed into pushing out the abortion pill, the miscarriage-inducing pill, mifepristone, without regulations or health oversight, and just not even thinking about the fact that you're helping, these families discount their children, like not even give them a second thought. It's like, Why do all of these organizations, businesses, um, do all of this when they could spend that energy actually creating structures of support so that families don't feel like they're being held underwater, unable to support a child? And unfortunately, the state of California has gone in that direction, stockpiling mifepristone, putting billboards in pro-life states to lure people over here for abortions. So, but thankfully, there is a voice of resistance here in California, and that the victories aren't only happening in the pro-life states. There are, there's a rolling, there's a snowball that's rolling and rolling, and we need you guys to join, pack onto this, and help this momentum grow so that we can be a huge change, create a huge shift in the culture of California.
I am ready to jump right into it with talking about our mission in motion, our fight in the present. So, Dobbs Anniversary Surge. This is our second live stream of the day, and I will be talking about our fight in the present, mission in motion. I want to just lay it out in simple terms. What is it exactly that Pro Life San Francisco does? What is the hole that we fill in our community? What is our niche? That's what we're going to talk about in this moment. I'm going to lay it out to you. So we have three pillars of action. These are the three pillars that has been a part of the foundation of Pro-Life San Francisco. And they are: one, to educate our community; two, connect pregnant women and families to resources; and three, counter the pervasive Bay Area abortion movement. So the three pillars are to educate, to connect, and to counter. And we're going to break them all down. So, what do the pillars look like in the day to day? Because I can tell you, oh, we educate, we connect, and we counter, but that's kind of vague, right? Let me talk to you about the specifics of what those pillars look like in action. Well, this is where our programs come in. This is how the pillars are acted in motion. And our programs are fighting UCSF, the University California at San Francisco. As I said in the earlier webcast this morning, San Francisco is the abortion training capital of the US, and that is because of the Ryan residency program at UCSF that trains future abortionists to go out and kill babies in the rest of the nation. UCSF also has a fetal organ harvesting program, and we demand for ethical research there. I'm going to talk more about it, but that is what I mean when I say one of our programs is fighting the egregious practices that happen at UCSF. Another one of our programs is our life affirming directory website, bayareareprocare.com. We hold it down on the sidewalk outside of our local Planned Parenthood, our local abortion business, with sidewalk outreach, pamphleting, talking to people, letting them know about resources in our city and surrounding areas. And lastly, we do mutual aid through a Repro Share Fair, which was inspired by our friends at the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. So let's break them down, because I just told you four different things, four different programs, and we're going to talk specifically about each program and what we do through them. UCSF. This falls under our counter pillar. So we counter the unethical research and demand an end to fetal organ harvesting at UCSF, while exposing the heinous practices. And we do this through our public records requests on our website that are all available on our website, and talking about fetal organ harvesting, bringing this horrible practice to light on the Harvesting Justice podcast. And Robert is telling me he still sees the 24 by 24 page. Robert, I'm on a slide that shows UCSF. Let me know if you see this current page. And the QR code on your screen right now takes you to our podcast page. Yes, did you know that we, Pro-Life San Francisco, have a podcast? Yes, we've been doing monthly podcast episodes since February. We've been trying to release our episodes every first of the month. And if there's no glitches, I'm going to show you our Harvesting Justice podcast page. And this is available on our website. If you go to media and click on podcast, you can easily get to our Spotify or our YouTube, or you can listen on Apple Podcasts. And we have our own Harvesting Justice Instagram page with clips from the podcast. And we have so far interviewed Tommy Kearns, father of Clementine. He is on a mission to recover his daughter's remains and bring justice for his daughter Clementine. We spoke with Elisa Martinez from New Mexico Alliance for Life, and they have done a lot of work exposing fetal organ harvesting. And we spoke with Elise Ketch, who is an author and an activist, does also correspondence with the Center for Medical Progress, also talking about fetal organ harvesting. And her episode is actually our most listened to yet. So you can listen to our podcast at Harvesting Justice, and you can scan that QR code. And we also have all the public records requests that we have been given available for public viewing on our website under campaigns. You can go to UCSF and you yourself can read all the work that we've done and these records for yourself, believe it or not. And we, to my knowledge, are the only organization that exposes fetal organ harvesting happening at UCSF, the only pro-life organization. And so I have to stress, if you want our UCSF program to continue, you want us to continue to counter the Bay Area abortion movement, abortion extremism, please consider giving $24 in the next 24 hours today on June 24th to keep our UCSF program going. So our next program is our Life Affirming Directory website, bayareareprocare.com. And this is under our Connect pillar. This is our way to connect women and families in unexpected pregnancies to life-affirming resources through our one-stop shop directory website. Again, we are the only pro-life organization in the Bay Area to have created a life-affirming directory website. Yes, the only. You would have thought it would have been done already, but no. It took Pro-Life San Francisco coming in and taking all the resources available that we know of. If you know of more life-affirming resources that support women, families, and children, please send them our way. I would love to add them to the website. You can check out bayareareprocare.com and even scan the QR code on your screen to see the mobile version on your cell phone. Right now, I'm going to open up bayareareprocare.com, and you can see this awesome website that points people, families, women to local resources that will help them throughout pregnancy and beyond. On this website, we point people to our local life-affirming pregnancy help clinics and family resource centers that are in the city of San Francisco. And we have even more resources available telling people how to learn about fertility awareness, charting, tracking, and if someone is houseless or homeless, resources for them. And there's a plethora of resources on this website. I encourage you to check it out at bayareareprocare.com. Again, we are the only pro-life organization in the Bay Area to ever have created a one-stop shop life-affirming directory website. And if you want this program to connect, that falls under our connect pillar, to continue in the San Francisco Bay Area, we are encouraging 24 people to commit $24 in the next 24 hours today, June 24th, to keep our programs going. Our next program is Sidewalk Outreach. Yes, you know her, you love her. Going to the sidewalk, and this falls under our connect pillar. And through Sidewalk Outreach, we connect women and families in unexpected pregnancies to life-affirming resources through encountering them on the sidewalk of our local abortion business. And Sidewalk Outreach, you never know what you're going to get out there. It's like a box of chocolates. Sometimes you have different characters like security and death escorts that are glorified door openers. Sometimes they push you, and sometimes you get people who yell at you, say, stop harassing women. But sometimes, and that may be the worst of it, but sometimes you may save a baby. And so what matters more? Like, what's the worst thing? Okay, someone yells at you or you save a baby. Having courage does not mean that you're not afraid, but courage is the decision that something matters more than your fear. So we try to take courage that potentially saving a baby from being killed and preventing a family from a lifetime of regret matters more than our fear of what the haters may say. And we do have a legal right to be on public property. Even the San Francisco law allows for sidewalk outreach. What the law does not allow for is harassment. But that's a given, right? You and I would not harass someone even if we weren't standing outside an abortion business. If we were just standing outside of a supermarket, a pharmacy, you're not going to harass people regardless, right? So we are holding it down out there on the sidewalk of our local abortion business. And you may see closely in this image that we have our own life-affirming literature. We have Bay Area Repro Care brochures that point people to our life-affirming directory website. So if you feel the call to go stand on the front lines of the pro-life movement, one of the last chance to encounter someone before an abortion decision, you are able to print out these brochures for yourself and use them in your sidewalk outreach, your sidewalk ministry. A last program that we do is our Repro Sharefair Mutual Aid. And this also falls under the Connect pillar. And through our Repro Sharefair Mutual Aids, we connect women and families in unexpected pregnancies to life-affirming resources through tangibly helping them by mutual aid from our Repro Sharefair. And if you're interested, you can scan the QR code on your screen right now, and this will take you to our Repro Sharefair page on our website. And you can find our Amazon wish list, and you can contribute to our Repro Sharefair by purchasing something off of our Amazon wish list that we then give to women and families when we do mutual aid. So that is a type of outreach event that we do about once a month. Now, what about the pillar educate? I went over, we connect families to resources, and we counter the abortion industry, the abortion movement. But I haven't gone over the pillar of educate. We connect, counter, and educate. Now, how do we educate? Well, we educate through social media. Okay. If you are following us online, you have seen education over the years, especially education about laws that are happening. We also educate through working with the press, working with the media when asked to comment on articles and current events. We also educate through student interviews. Believe it or not, and we don't talk about this much publicly, but many students reach out to us throughout the school year asking for interviews to help them on their projects on controversial issues. Recently, I did an interview with a student who was studying at a French immersion school, and this is pretty frequent throughout the school year that we get asked by students to give them the pro-life perspective on their research projects, because it's pretty easy to find us. If you Google pro-life orgs in San Francisco, we will pop up. So we are constantly getting interview requests throughout the year. And the last primary way that we educate is when we are invited to speak. Often we have gotten invites to speak at church young adult events, and we are open and willing to speak at any and all community events and gatherings if you will so have us. So if you want us to continue the pillar of education, to continue educating pro-life people or even those who don't agree with us in San Francisco, we encourage you to give today on our Dobbs Day Anniversary. So that is our third pillar of education. But what I didn't say is that we have a sort of pseudo pillar that is community. So educate, connect, counter, and community. And how do we do community? How do we create community for pro-life people in the San Francisco Bay Area? Well, we do this through our monthly meetups. We try to meet up once a month with fun activities. This picture on the far left was at an escape room, and we had a lot of fun. We did escape the room. That was a fun social. And sometimes we get together and afterwards we do some culture jamming. You can see in this picture, we put up some flyers telling people, alerting people about that UCSF harvests baby body parts through abortions. Here we are. This large group picture was at the Oakland pro-life walk. So that was through one of our weeks of action, encouraging people to come to this event. And also part of that week of action, we did a volunteer day at one of our local life-affirming pregnancy centers, Alpha Pregnancy Center. And through community, we also support our local life-affirming centers like Bella Primary Care by attending their gala. So that is one of our ways that we create community, is through monthly meetups and weeks of action, and trying to raise up pro-life people in the San Francisco Bay Area and train them to be pro-life leaders. And if you want the pillar of community to continue to exist for pro-life people in the San Francisco Bay Area to have an outlet to know that you can be pro-life in San Francisco. And in fact, you're not the only one. You're not alone. You have a community. If you want this community to continue to exist in San Francisco, please consider giving $24 on this Dobbs Surge Anniversary Day. I just said a lot, but I'm going to break it down even more. What exactly do we do? What does Pro-Life San Francisco do? I'm kind of looking like an Italian right now. What's going on here? What's it all about? What are our pillars? They are to educate our community, to connect pregnant women and families to resources, to counter the pervasive Bay Area abortion movement. And then bonus pillar is community for pro-lifers in the Bay Area. Educate, connect, counter, and community. So those are our pillars. But how exactly do we educate, connect, and counter? And we do that through our programs. And our programs are fighting UCSF, demanding for ethical research, exposing the egregious practices there, UCSF, hosting our Bay Area ReproCare.com life affirming one-stop shop directory website, holding a life affirming presence by doing sidewalk outreach outside our local abortion business, and lastly, doing mutual aid through our Repro Share Fairs. And then the bonus pillar of community is through monthly meetups, weeks of action, being an outlet for pro-life people to have a home in the San Francisco Bay Area. And to recap, our pillars are educate, counter, connect. Educate, connect, counter. Bonus pillar is community. How do we do these pillars? Through our programs. UCSF, Bay Area ReproCare.com, Sidewalk Outreach, Repro Share Fair, Mutual Aid. So, I said a lot, and if you're following, thank you so much. If you want to keep these programs in the abortion training capital of the United States, you guessed it, folks, you guessed it. We encourage you so very much to support us on this Dobbs Anniversary Surge. That's all I have for you.
And I would say, ever since I first learned about this community, when it first booted up in 2016, when it first started, I was just so grateful to finally be able to speak to, people who live where I live on an ongoing basis without it being like a 1 day or 2 day event. And then people, zip off away from San Francisco to their respective corners of California or of the US. I was really grateful to, see annual events pop up, but with the ongoing community, it was just such a, for lack of a better term, a blessing. I'm not religious myself, but, I would, definitely say it's a blessing in some shape or form to be able to, have, something in common with people who have their eyes open to this harm being perpetuated by institutions, in in our backyard. And Melanie, if you could put words to it, how would you describe the value of keeping an ongoing pro-life community alive in San Francisco? Like, what is the value of that to you, not just to the children and all the people we can positively impact, but what is the impact, the value to you?
Yeah, it's so extremely important, especially in a place like San Francisco, for a pro-life presence to exist. I mean, if we aren't the brave, outgoing, not hiding voice for the babies, then who is? And people feel so often that they are alone. I feel like I meet so many people who when they find out pro-life San Francisco exists, they're like, oh, I have been living here for X amount of time, or I'm an SF native and I had no idea pro-life SF was here, which I'm always puzzled by, because I feel like if you just Googled like pro-life in San Francisco will come up, but that's besides the point. Neither here nor
Not
there.
everyone's on the internet. Not everyone is chronically online.
So it it is so important for people to have an outlet, for there to be a voice for the babies, for us to exist saying, yes, I am San Franciscan and I'm pro-life. I love my city. I'm not going anywhere. And the babies here are worth fighting for, especially in a place like San Francisco, California. They are worth fighting for. San Francisco babies are worth protecting. And I
I
hope
would
that
add to that, crossing boundaries, being able to come together from various backgrounds and encourage each other face to face, that prevents us from losing hope, from burnout, from feeling so stigmatized that we can't do a single thing to speak up for the children. Being together, encouraging each other does so much to lighten the mood, to equip us to do a lot more. And being able to help another person to whether it's helping fill in the gaps of their understanding of things, because not all pro-life people know everything. Even me, I keep my ears open to learn new things every day. Even from people who have a different perspective from us, we have to keep our ears open, or else we're not being honest. So being able to speak and nurture each other within the pro-life community is another benefit of that as well.
I just thought of another point of the importance of pro-life San Francisco existing in the space that we do, or in the space that we've created for ourselves, because San Francisco is so diverse. There is an array of people on religious, political, ideological spectrums. It's so important that people have a funnel into a pro-life home, that over here at Pro-Life San Francisco, whatever your background is, you have a home here and you can be pro-life, whether you're atheist, progressive, Catholic, conservative, a mix of whatever. It's okay, and that's great. And you can be pro-life and you have a home here. I like to say, I don't like the expression, the analogy of a melting pot, because a melting pot is kind of like you all melt and then become one thing. And I don't want people to become one thing. I don't think there should be any cookie cutter type of pro-lifer. Be who you are, stay who you are, and you can be pro-life. I like the analogy of a salad bowl, that you can be a tomato, some lettuce, some croutons, whatever have you, and we
And the
can
crouton.
all be a part of the pro-life salad bowl.
Dobbs versus Jackson, the case that overruled Roe versus Wade, is opening the door for legal protections for children who are denied their rights to live. Definitely, there's more work to be done, because while the door is open, states like California are miles away from even approaching the frame. We want to help our communities and the government, in response, walk toward the door, step through, and realize what it means to actually protect children, support families, and provide care. Abortion is not care.
Now, in this third and final live stream during our Dobbs Anniversary Surge, I will be talking about our vision for the future. Woo, yes, let's just dream big, okay? And I'm going to take you on a journey. We're going to talk about what pro-life possibilities there are in San Francisco, but it's going to take all of us. It's going to take the work of Pro-Life San Francisco to continue. All righty, so let's jump in. So I told you I was going to take you on a journey. So let's just imagine an abortion-free San Francisco. let's just imagine it. What would that be like? Robert touched on it. A city that could protect life, support families, offer real care, abundant life care. Wow. You know, in a place like San Francisco, there is not a lack of supportive services, of resources. Truly, there are a plethora of community and governmental services to help families in need, families who are facing unexpected pregnancies. There are so many, what I think to be life affirming services. But imagine if we could have all that minus the killing, minus the baby killing. It could happen, right? And how do we get there? And maybe if you are more of a pessimist and thinking like there will never be such a thing as an abortion free San Francisco, okay, well, could we say an abortion extremism free San Francisco? A San Francisco that's free of abortion extremism, that allows for abortion throughout all 9 months of pregnancy, that allows for the dissecting and trafficking, buying and selling of baby body parts for research? Could we at least imagine a San Francisco that's free of the abortion extremism? If an abortion-free San Francisco seems out of reach, can't we all agree that it very much is possible, even more so, to fight against abortion extremism, find some common ground with hopefully people on all sides of the pro-life, pro-abortion aisle? But I have radical hope. And I'm going to talk about that later. I have radical hope that yes, even in a city like San Francisco, one day, even here, it can be abortion free, elective abortion free. But how do we get there? Let's talk about it. So these 4 points: step 1, a solid base of pregnancy aid; step 2, education to change minds; step 3, nonviolent action to change hearts; and step 4, political action to change laws. These 4 points were inspired by the book Rebuilding Pro-Life Nonviolence, written by our friend Elise Ketch. She was on our most recent episode of the Harvesting Justice podcast. Definitely go listen to it if you haven't already. It's our most listened to episode yet, and co-authored by John Kavanaugh O'Keefe. I believe he is deemed to be the godfather of the pro-life movement, or maybe I'm mixing him up with another person. Anyways, point being is these 4 points on the screen were inspired by this book, Rebuilding Pro-Life Nonviolence, available on Amazon. So let's get into how do these 4 points practically look like in San Francisco for that vision of creating that abortion-free pro-life San Francisco. So, step 1, a solid base of pregnancy aid. What does that look like here? Well, we already have life-affirming clinics that are servicing families, giving material aid. We actually have family resource centers. So there is a solid base of pregnancy aid. And what does that look like now from the lens of Pro-Life San Francisco? Well, one of my dreams through Pro-Life SF is one day, remember, we're talking about the vision for the future, to have community defense on the sidewalk every hour that our local abortion business is open. I know it may seem like a big dream right now, but I know that it's possible. And let me tell you how I know that. Where I came from in Texas, in San Antonio, we had a well-oiled machine at the headquarters of Planned Parenthood South Texas. We had at least one pro-life person every hour that the abortion business was open. And we had rotations. We would pass off to the next person, knowing that the next hour, the next few hours were covered. that there would be at least one pro-life person to at least try to reach anyone and everyone who was there for the abortion business. And so I saw that in practice. I know that it's possible to have a well-oiled machine of pro-lifers every hour. So I know we could do it here. I know it's possible. I know that it can't just be me and Robert as the only pro-life people in San Francisco. I know it's not just us in our little circle of pro-life people. I know there has to be more of us out there. And I shared in the previous live stream that it's not uncommon. I meet people who say, I had no idea Pro-Life San Francisco existed. I've lived here for X amount of time. I've lived here my whole life. I'm pro-life and I had no idea. So I know they're out there. You may know some pro-life people in the San Francisco Bay Area too. Maybe you're one of them. And so one of my visions for that pro-life future in San Francisco is to have community defense on the sidewalk outreach every hour that the local abortion business is open, to tell people about their options, to give life-affirming literature in the hands of the potential clients and encourage them to know all their options of all the resources that are available to them in the city. And, you know, leafleting is not an uncommon practice. People do leafleting for their various causes or to raise awareness for various ideas, etc., anywhere and everywhere on public property. And so this is no different than leafleting to spread awareness. You just happen to be doing it outside of the local abortion business. And if pro-abortion people are really to be pro-choice, then they would be in favor of people knowing all their choices, all the options available to them. So this is one of my dreams. If I could wave a magic wand, we would have enough pro-life people every working hour that the local abortion business is open to share about the life-affirming resources, the plethora that is available in the San Francisco Bay Area, so that there is never at least a chance that somebody goes in and out of the abortion business without knowing that there are life-affirming options for them. Just even if someone were to say F you, or if someone were to say no thanks, I don't want that, fine. But at least there was the chance for a pro-life person to encounter them. Could we imagine if there was at least a chance for a pro-life person to be there and to hopefully maybe save a life? Imagine how many babies we could save, how many women and families we could help if there was a pro-life person outside on the sidewalk every hour to at least have the chance to save a baby. Imagine, it's a vision. So, part of step 1, solid base of pregnancy aid. You may already know we have our life-affirming one-stop shop directory website, bayareareprocare.com, bayareareproductivecare.com. Both websites will take you, both names will take you to the same website. So part of my vision is that bayareareprocare.com pops up first on searches, whether it's Google or Yahoo or, dare I say, TikTok, ChatGPT. I would love for when someone is Googling pregnant, need help, pregnant, what are my options, pregnant, etc., that Bay Area ReproCare pops up first on that search. Imagine, why not? That would be so great that an option that is life-affirming pops up first. And that's going to take working with people who are experts in search engine optimization. And I'm just going to go ahead and show off this website because I'm so proud of it. It was a dream and it is now a reality. So here we are, BayAreaReproCare.com, and Find Help Now will take you to what all the pregnancy resources are in the San Francisco Bay Area. Like I said, there is not a lack of resources. There's even local resources specific to Black and Latina moms. When I was navigating my own unexpected pregnancy in San Francisco, I benefited from a lot of these helpful resources. And we even have national resources because there's so many national life affirming orgs. And here, if you go learn more, help is closer than you think. Here is a page dedicated to pointing people to our local life-affirming pro-life health clinics, certified, licensed by the California Department of health clinics, and direct links to schedule an appointment. And so there is not a website like this that exists already. We at Pro-Life San Francisco created this website, and it is amazing, if I do say so myself. And I do say so myself. So one of my dreams, visions for the future of Pro-Life SF is to work with professionals so that this website pops up first on search engines. When someone searches online, pregnant, need help, I think my period's late, I had unprotected sex, what have you, whatever the common phrases someone would search, I am looking for my options in San Francisco, that this would be one of the first, if not the first, website to pop up. Step one, a part of the vision of a solid base of pregnancy aid. Now, this may sound crazy, but I would love one day through Pro-Life San Francisco us to be able to provide housing for moms in unexpected pregnancies. To my knowledge, there is not a operating maternity home for young moms and women. I know there's various ministries. I think there used to be one in San Francisco. And I would love for us one day to have a property, have some sort of property that could provide housing for women in unexpected pregnancies. Housing in a place like San Francisco is such a delicate topic, and it's very difficult for many people. Many people rely on support for housing. And I would love, as pro-life people, to be a part of the solution for pregnant moms, for young women who are navigating unexpected pregnancies. Step two. Okay, so we just talked about solid base of pregnancy aid. That's step one for this pro-life vision in San Francisco. Step two is education to change minds. And you may already know, if you're following us on social media, that we are kind of savvy with the socials. We try to be. And I would love, as time goes on, that we continue to create even more awareness and moral outrage on social media. Believe it or not, but behind the scenes in the day-to-day work, our team consists of Robert and me. Believe it or not, people are typically shocked when I tell them that, because they're thinking there's a whole army of people who are helping out in the day-to-day, but really it's 90% Robert and me. And so I would love, going forward, that we have the bandwidth to continue to create even more social media content, to create more awareness to the public, and create more moral outrage about the happenings here in the San Francisco Bay Area. This screenshot is a clip right before the presidential debates, and Robert made a whole video about Kamala Harris back when she was our Attorney General, when she was the head cop of California, and when presented with information showing that what looked to be illegal fetal organ harvesting activities were happening, buying, selling, instead of going after those persons part of the trafficking, she went after the journalist who exposed it. And so Robert made a whole video about that right before the presidential debates. And we would love to make more content, again, to make more awareness and more moral outrage. Step 2, education to change minds. How are we going to do this? Launch a new grassroots tool against UCSF's fetal organ harvesting to demand ethical research now. So we've been in the fight against UCSF for many years now. We continue to do public records requests. That's not going to stop. And it's all available on our website. Most recently this year in February, we started the Harvesting Justice podcast, and that is available on our website. You can go to our website, click on the media tab, click on podcasts. That'll lead you to multiple links to binge the Harvesting Justice podcast. But part of our effort with UCSF has been to try to move the needle. How can we tangibly make a difference to end the gruesome practice of the fetal organ harvesting that's happening at UCSF? So coming hopefully later this year, you will see a new grassroots tool to help demand ethical research now. Wink, wink. It will be a way for you, the people, to talk directly to those in power within the university system to say that you want an end to fetal organ harvesting and you want ethical research to happen now. So be on the lookout for that. But this is all a part of the vision for the future. Step 2, continuing education to change minds. How can we continue to educate the minds? Bring back Let There Be Life conferences. In the early days of Pro-Life San Francisco, Pro-Life SF led a couple conferences at UC Berkeley, thanks to the Students for Life Club there. And here we are in 2025. COVID put a pause to those conferences, and they just have not come back. But I would love for Pro-Life San Francisco to bring back the Let There Be Life conferences. And maybe you will see that in 2026. Be on the lookout. Wink, wink. But that would be part of the vision for a Pro-Life San Francisco in order to educate minds to bring back these pro-life conferences. Step 3, nonviolent action to change hearts. How are we going to do this? What's the vision? Solidarity with the victims through weeks of action. In the past, Pro-Life SF has led very powerful weeks of action, and we continue to do weeks of action, possibly to a lesser scale. But it would be great to continue to do these weeks of action to a grander scale, hopefully have a bigger turnout, be able to raise up the pro-life people within the SF Bay area and invite people from outside too to join us. So I would love for these weeks of action to continue and for them to become even bolder going forward. Nonviolent action to change hearts. How are we going to do this? By raising up more pro-life people in San Francisco. This goes really along with our pseudo pillar of community. We at San Francisco, in a way, are a funnel for pro-life people all across the political, ideological, religious spectrum to have a place, have a home. And we, purely by existing, purely by just showing up, by having our social media having our handles that say pro-life SF is radical, is a form of resistance, dare I say, to say that yes, we are in San Francisco and we are pro-life, and guess what? You can be too. So I hope for the future, the vision of an abortion-free San Francisco, that in our work today, we can raise up more pro-life people in San Francisco tomorrow. Step 3, continued nonviolent action to change hearts. How are we going to do this? Get ready. Creating alliances through the new Bay Area Life Affirming Coalition. So this has been a dream of mine, vision of mine for a while, many months. And I was inspired by what I saw in Texas, and I'm going to replicate that here. I'm just going to do a little copy paste. And so what the Bay Area Life Affirming Coalition is going to consist of is local pro-life student groups, local life affirming health clinics, local pro-life ministries, activists, prayer groups, sidewalk outreach persons, and any other Respect Life group, church, ministry, etc., to hopefully meet maybe once a quarter, maybe once every 2 months, not sure yet. I think maybe once a quarter for now. But this alliance will allow us to work together, hopefully have some unity and harmony within our local movement. I think that a lot of times as pro-life people in our respective organizations, we're kind of swimming in our own lanes, and that's great. We need to do our respective work. But I want us to also be communicating, be working as a team, and have that open, transparent communication. So hopefully through the new Bay Area Life Affirming Coalition, various groups will be able to come together and talk about how we can help each other out. What are our upcoming events? How can we work together? How can we be strategic? What are the ways how we can better support one another? So this will be coming up, and this again will be a part of step 3, nonviolent action to change hearts. Moving into step 4, our final step, to political action to change laws. And we want to continue to put pressure on the powers and principalities that be. Okay, we want to continue to stick it to the man. You may or may not remember in our most recent local election, we had Proposition O, also called the, what was it called? The Reproductive Freedom Act. And we at Pro-Life SF were the voice fighting against Prop O. We were actually in your voter guide speaking out on why this was going to be harmful to the community and not helpful. One of the major reasons we were fighting against this is because we wanted to protect our local community pregnancy help clinics. What Prop O sought out to do, one of the big things was to put signs outside of our local life-affirming pregnancy centers that say that these are limited service pregnancy centers. They do not offer abortions. And if you are looking for an abortion, here is the city website to go to find abortion. And nothing of the sort is outside of abortion facilities, telling people where they can go if they want to parent and if they want to have their baby and where to find help. So very one-sided on bias against pro-lifers. So we were the loud voice fighting against Prop O. We did a lot of flyering in our community, putting up posters to the public and speaking to the press and media, talking on social media. So we want to continue to put pressure on the powers and principalities that be. And this is a part of step 4, political action to change laws. And as Pro-Life San Francisco, we want to continue to show that abortion can be nonpartisan, believe it or not. It's kind of so funny to me when I tell people, like, I do pro-life work, I lead a pro-life organization, and people automatically lump that in with being political and make a lot of assumptions about me and my beliefs and where I fall politically and that I'm so involved. Really, I don't feel like I'm a major political person. I get 99% of my political news from my husband, believe it or not. Thank you to my beloved spouse if you're watching. And really, abortion in and of itself is not a political issue. It is a human rights issue. And with fighting for human rights, yes, sometimes you have to get political in order to advocate for the change in laws that you want to see. But to its core, in and of itself, being pro-life is not political. So we, as Pro-Life San Francisco, purely by existing as a place for any and all people across the political spectrum to have a home, hopefully we can continue to show that, yes, abortion can be nonpartisan. And here I have on the screen messaging from various social justice movements: fund care, not killing. And I think that's a message along with universal health care, I imagine. No pride in genocide. And as pro-lifers, we do believe that abortion is another form of genocide. No human being is illegal. Some may deem the unborn person to, if they are not a person, then perhaps if they are truly violating a woman's bodily autonomy, then perhaps even if that human, that being is a human, that human being is illegal and they don't have a right to life. So that could be some logic there. And respect existence or expect resistance. And we can apply that to the fetal person, that they do exist and we should respect their existence. So in and of itself, you see these messages and one may think these are not on their face pro-life messages, but I just read this all out to you and I see pro-life messaging in all these graphics. Fund care, fund support for families, and let's not fund abortion and the abortion industrial complex. There should be no pride in the genocide of the preborn. No human being is illegal, including our preborn brethren, and let's respect the existence of fetal embryo persons, or let's expect the resistance of their born privileged people. We as born people have a privilege. We are privileged born people to be able to speak out for the underprivileged preborn person who cannot speak for themselves. So again, we as Pro-Life San Francisco, hopefully just continuing to exist can be a source to show that, yes, abortion can be nonpartisan. And whoever you are, whatever you believe, you too can be pro-life. In fact, being pro-life, believe it or not, is probably consistent with your values of equality, nonviolence, and non-discrimination. Continuing on step 4, political action to change laws. I mentioned, all the work that we did fighting against Prop O. Even before Prop O, before I was a part of Pro-Life San Francisco, we were also in the fight against the statewide Proposition 1 that allows for elective third trimester abortions. So imagine if we could do even more pro-life work through creating a 501c4 political arm. I think it would be great, instead of fighting against the bad things, well, continuing to do that, but also being able to fight in favor of the good and be able to endorse pro-life candidates, to be able to encourage people to look out for these good pro-life laws or laws that support families. So, in a vision for a pro-life San Francisco, an abortion-free San Francisco, Pro-Life SF creating a 501c4 political arm could be a part of the vision towards that future. So, I said a lot, okay? I just went over those 4 steps for rebuilding a pro-life culture, fighting for that vision of an abortion-free San Francisco, a San Francisco that's free of abortion extremism. Step 1 was a solid base of pregnancy aid. Step 2 was education to change minds. Step 4 was nonviolent action to change hearts. And step 3 and step 4 was political action to change laws. And I went over all the ways how we could do that here at San Francisco. It's possible. We could totally have the sidewalk filled with pro-life people every hour. We totally could have BayAreaReproCare.com be one of the first things in the search engines to pop up when someone is searching pregnant need help in San Francisco. We could start a 501c4. We could bring back the Let There Be Life conferences. We could do so many things. But the road ahead is tough. I acknowledge that. Okay? I mean, after the overturn of Roe v. Wade, thanks to the Supreme Court decision, Dobbs v. Jackson, in some states, in many states, life was protected. Pro-life laws were strengthened, and there is a total ban on legal abortion in many states. And in some states, like California, abortion was strengthened. Abortion became a part of state constitutions. So I acknowledge that the road ahead is tough, but it is a road we would not even have the chance to take had it not been for the overturn of Roe. And so even though the road ahead is tough, we can take inspiration from other movements that fought for what was right. Other movements that, even though the road ahead was tough, even though maybe the light at the end of the tunnel seemed so far away, they kept going. And we should keep fighting too for the preborn. And earlier I mentioned that I have a radical hope that this too, in San Francisco, is a possible future. Why do I have this radical hope, you may ask? Where does she get this hope from? Well, from my Lord, but also from history. Because I look back at history, we can all look back and we can see that there was a time when people, because of the color of their skin, were treated differently, were treated as slaves, were segregated. Women were not allowed to vote, to have a bank account, to take out a checkbook. There were times that women were discriminated against simply for being women. There were times that people of color were discriminated against simply for being people of color. There were times that there were genocides and holocausts simply because people were different. And now, in the present day, we look back and we are appalled that good people who existed at that time did not speak up. And we are so thankful for the brave folks who did. So here we are in our current time, 2025, when abortion is still very much the law of the land in California. But I believe that similar to other injustices in the past, one day people will look back and they will be appalled that good people did not speak up for the babies. And they will be so thankful for people like us who did. And so victory came. Women can vote now. Segregation is gone. Not saying there's still things that need to be worked on for different groups, okay? But victory came. The light at the tunnel was finally reached. And similar for us too. Total victory, total liberation for the preborn can happen. And I have a radical hope that similarly how, not the same thing, but how there is the National Museum of History for various causes, various uh, horrible things that happened in the past. And we honor those museums. We visit those museums. We remember to never repeat those things from the past. And we are thankful for those figureheads who led the way. I believe that too. One day, we are going to have our National Museum of Pro-Life History. Okay, let me hear it. Applause, applause, applause. Yes, it can happen, okay? We can get our National Museum of Pro-Life History. And, you know, there's a lot of good, everyday pro-life people who are doing the hard work in their backyard, who are saving babies, helping moms, and they're not putting it out on social media. They are not being seen or praised on national stages. They may never end up in the National Museum of Pro-Life History. And heck, I don't count it on myself ending up in the National Museum of Pro-Life History. But what I can count on is that I'm going to do my part in the present day so that we hopefully get to the point in history and the point in that future where we do get to have the National Museum of Pro-Life History. So it's a long road ahead, but we got to do our part today so that we can have that pro-life future tomorrow. So there is so much we want to do in San Francisco. I mentioned those 4 steps. Step 1, solid base of pregnancy aid. Step 2, education to change minds. Step 3, nonviolent action to change hearts. And step 4, political action to change laws. And there's so much we can do. We can have a pro-life ongoing presence at the sidewalk. We can bring back the Let There Be Life conferences. We can make a grassroots tool to demand for ethical research now at UCSF. We can create a 501c4 political arm of Pro-Life San Francisco. There's so much potential that we can do to try to save babies and help women here in the San Francisco Bay Area. But it's going to take your help. Help us to continue our programs here in the city with so much death, in America's abortion training capital. Let us continue to be a light, be a voice for life here in the darkness. So that is all I have for you on this Dobbs Anniversary Surge. Please go to support.prolifesf.org and give your support today. That will be tax deductible. All righty. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Melanie. And I wanted to touch on one thing you just spoke about. That one slide with the kind of little sketches of those figureheads, like large movement figureheads like Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi. They're oftentimes treated as icons, as insurmountable, like almost like people sometimes don't fully take the time to deeply meditate on the fact that these are people who lived and breathed and bled and sweat every day to represent not just themselves and their voice and their vision for the future, but to represent thousands of people within their movement fighting for the same thing. We are also people living, breathing, sweating, bleeding if it ever comes to that. I do recall, the time one of our colleagues got beat on the sidewalk for doing a 40 Days for Life vigil. It was about maybe 6, 7 years ago.
Very true.
I recall news stories just last year, just a couple seasons ago, of a man in, I believe, on the East Coast who got beat and bloodied in his face. Don't forget the sacrifices that they made are so important. They can't be like just simplified. It's, if you know what I'm trying to say, these are serious sacrifices, and we have a chance to do the same thing. We have the opportunity to, and it doesn't even have to be from, a food strike or putting ourselves in bodily risk. If you're doing, sidewalk counseling or even rescues, there's a chance that that will happen too, that you're taking on that, possibility. But just contributing to the programs that you want to see take place, that is a very low risk opportunity to move things forward, to turn our community into a place where more women and children and families are cared for, and to be thankful for that you don't have to put yourself in line of bodily harm unless you wish, to be physically boots on the ground. But there are so many ways to be a direct part of solving the problem our community has surrounding abortion.
We've talked about what we have done, what we are doing, and what we want to do going forward. And none of this is possible without your support. So I hope that you have been inspired today. I hope you've been lit on fire. I hope that we were able to laugh together and be motivated and have hope that Dobbs v. Jackson was just the beginning. The overturn of Roe was sort of the end of the beginning because it seems that the road ahead is long, or the road is going to be hard. But like I've said, it's a road we do not even get to take had it not been for the Dobbs v. Jackson ruling. So I'm so thankful for the Dobbs ruling. I'm so thankful to the Supreme Court, and I'm thankful to every single pro-life person who made a difference, who helped make the overturning possible. Every single person who may end up in the National Museum of Pro-Life History, or maybe not. But I believe even if we don't get a great reward on earth, that we will have a great reward in heaven. Alrighty, that's all I have.
Hashtag remember the babies. We're not here for any reason but to shine a spotlight on the depths of need to protect these children. Sometimes for our own mental health and well-being, we have to compartmentalize and keep emotion out of it. But wow, the thing that drives us every day, that drives this live stream, is remembering the babies, those who have been lost and those at risk presently. We need to step up for them. That's why an organization like this and the others in the city, specifically the church-bound organizations, we all need to persevere and keep going in our mission to serve these families and their children. So thanks again. Remember the babies, and happy Dobbs anniversary.
Happy Dobbs Day.
Bye.
Bye.